Shalom. First and foremost, all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai Bahasham, Rakah Kwadash. Double honor to the apostles, bishops, and elders of Great Millstone, and peace and mercy to the 144,000 and the rest of the elect. I'm the brother Yawanathan, back with another quick lesson, Lord willing is edifying. And this is just a quick Mark of the Beast RFID microchip update. All right, today's date is May 21st, 2024. And Elon Musk, Neuralink, the company Neuralink, they're planning to extend the trial to 10 people this year. All right, so they're looking for more victims. You already had that one guy who they're boasting all around that, the successful Neuralink patient or whatever. There was videos on it. He was playing chess or whatever with his mind. I mean, they really trying to get you people. And ultimately, the agenda is that everybody's going to be chipped. All right, this is not just something that's voluntarily, just something for fun, for recreational use only, etc. They're trying to introduce this thing into legislation. And they're not trying to. They've already have. Excuse me. But it hasn't went mainstream yet. All right, but pretty soon, this thing is going to go very mainstream. Because here on CNBC, this is a major news network. And they have a report here from May 20th, 2024, which says, with JP Morgan MasterCard on board in biometric breakthrough year, they're talking about 2024, you may soon start paying with your face. All right, so they're saying that this is a breakthrough year for the biometric or digital economy. Because remember, in November, you got BRICS and the different world leaders. They planning on going a step further with these different digital currencies, these different central bank digital currencies. All right, so once they go digital with the whole economy, yeah, it is going to be either your face or digital ID, which is going to be connected to your face or your fingerprint or some type of biometric verification that's going to be needed to buy and sell. Because you got to remember that they're bringing this thing in gradually. I'm talking about the elites of society, the Rothschilds, the central banking families who are Edomites according to the Bible. These are the people that have the agenda to digitalize the global economy, which is first going to come by way of a financial collapse, a global economic collapse that's going to bring in all type of calamity, all type of trouble, including the time of Jacob's trouble that the scriptures speak about, Jeremiah 30:7. And through that, they're going to emerge this digital economy in which is going to be directly chained to the mark of the beast. All right, the RFID microchip implant that's going to be made mandatory. You see, so, excuse me, they're just going in, this article, they're going in to how, this biometric payment options is already pretty much taken over. It's already global. People are using it regularly and enjoying it, and people are not complaining. They're not fighting against it. I mean, you do have small voices of certain people who are trying to give warning, including us. Not saying that our voice is small. We the prophets of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai, but meaning nobody's really listening to us. There's only a very small group amount of people that actually listen to the men of the Lord, the prophets of Israel. And, you have another small sect of people who are not in the truth, but they know that there's something wrong here. They know that they're not going along with this biometric, digital economy thing, because they're getting ready to take away all your privacy. You won't be able to make any decisions on your own as far as what you want to buy, So that's what's going to come with all of this, man, is extreme draconian oppression. This is a digital prison that they're creating, a digital jail that's being formed all around you through technology. And, in order for you to be in prison under this system, you're going to have to take that chip. That's the only way you could really consent to being a part of it, because without it, as the scriptures say, you basically won't be able to do anything. I'm going to hold it right here. Revelation, the 13th chapter. I'll hold it right there. But let me read some of this article, at least the key points. It says biometric payment options are becoming more common in the U.S., such as Apple Face ID, enabling app purchases, and Amazon's introduction of pay by palm technology in stores. And financial firms from J.P. Morgan to MasterCard embracing the technology. Some U.S. restaurant chains have started letting patrons pay by face, an option already common in Asia powered by Alipay. While privacy is a concern, that's nothing new in the tech world, and Juniper Research forecasts $3 trillion in mobile biometric payments by 2025. So when I had originally saw this article, the headline pretty much said the year of biometric payment, something to that effect, meaning, this is the year that the technology is really going to catch on and stick, and people are just going to voluntarily use it to where they're not, they won't have to bring so much force and, this false flag that we all waiting for. We all know there's going to be some type of black swan false flag style event or a series of events that's going to usher in these things. But they're predicting that, well, the how do you say it? There's more people that's using this technology, and it's becoming more of a reality without even having to implement it, without even having to, force it down to people's throats, so to speak. It's just something that's gaining popularity naturally, so-called. That's what they're proclaiming. All right, automated fast food restaurant Cali Express by Flippy in Pasadena, California, opened in January to considerable hype due to its robot burger maker. But the restaurant launched with another less heralded innovation, the ability to pay for your meal with your face. So they just, straight up lying to people. They saying they're going to do one thing and then they just do something else, and that's nothing new. All right, this is how the so-called white man, who is the devil that the Bible speaks of, the biblical Edomite, this is how he gets his operations done. He lies and he deceives people, and he brings it in through something that's known as order ab chaos, which is a Latin phrase that means from order comes chaos. From chaos comes order. Excuse me, I said it backwards. Pretty much, they create a chaotic environment, a dangerous, unsafe environment. All right, whether that's through, the crime rate going up or whatever, however they're doing it, there's many different ways how they're doing it. And then once it gets to a point where it's you can't tolerate it no more, it's not safe, the people are scared for their life, they terrified, they start looking for answers, they look for a solution. And they also call that problem, reaction, solution, or the Hegelian dialect. All right, which is basically when you create a problem and then you introduce the pre-made a solution that you already came up with. You came up with the problem and you came up with the solution, but you needed to do it that way to basically get the people to be on board with you. Because, if you just introduce a microchip out of nowhere and say everybody has to take this in their body, people are going to resist. You're going to have something what's called a culture shock. All right, Terry Cook spoke about that in the book, Beast Technology. I believe he was like an ex-CIA or FBI, fulfilling Psalm 64 and 8, their own tongue falling upon themselves. But yeah, you had this Edomite who pretty much explained the concept of culture shock and how the elites, they work around that by gradually conditioning certain aspects of society, little by little. Because they know if you just introduce it all at once, the humans are habitual creatures, all right? So once people get used to doing something a certain way, after time, they're not going to want to break those habits. So you have to introduce these things little and little to get them to basically participate without them even really realizing it. And then before you know it, it's too late and they're already entrapped in this system. All right, and we already here. This shit is already digital, man. We already using biometric to pay for things on a daily. But the thing is that the mark the mark of the beast, that prophecy in itself, it hasn't come yet, because that's a prophecy in which that device is going to be made mandatory for you to take in your body. All right, that's a whole nother level of demon right there. So it says Cali Express uses a payment system from facial ID tech company Pop ID. To activate it, users register with a selfie. Then they can opt to be recognized, and then Pop ID's facial recognition confirms the transaction. And that's similar to how digital ID is going to work, because this is really the point. They're just going into a few restaurants, not even a few. You got hundreds, if not thousands, of restaurants and different supermarkets as Whole Foods who already have these biometric technology systems in place already. All right. But the point is for this, our focus on biometrics as a secure way to verify identity, replacing the password with the person, is at the heart of our efforts in this area. All right. So they're telling you exactly what they want to do. And their focus is basically you have to identify yourself before you're able to buy and sell. Before you're able to do anything in our society, we need to know exactly who you are, what you do, etc. Everything about you, basically. Because you have to verify identity. Isn't that why we fucking have IDs, man? Is that not why we have social security numbers and IDs and birth certificates? Doesn't that identify us? No. They're scrapping that system, man. Everything is going to be on that chip. Everything is going to be digital, right? And that's what the ultimate plan of the elites is. Revelation 13:16, and he causeth all, both small and great. I'm reading it on the right side, the KJV, and I have the NLT there as well. I'm reading in the KJV. It says, and he causeth all. Who's that? The so-called white man, or the beast, all right, which is NATO and the EU, along with America. And these entities are basically controlled and owned by the central banks, the international central banking families. All right, so these are the people who's basically putting these things into law, funding these different programs and experiments and trials to get this thing launched. All right, first the digital economy, then the chip. It says both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond. So all classes of people. All right, it's not going to be just for poor people or just only for animals. You know how they have it now. You got cats and dogs got microchips in them. Well, they're looking at you like an animal. Whether it doesn't matter if you're rich or poor, it doesn't matter. You just like a dog. You need to be tracked, traced, and identified at all times to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads. That word mark, when you go into it, is charagma. Just like I mentioned, a cat and a dog. When you go back to the hermeneutics of the word charagma, where is it? G5480. All right, this is a Greek word. I'm going to let this devil say it.
Strong's G5480. Charagma. Charagma.
Charagma, which means a stamp, an imprinted mark. When you go to 1B, a mark branded upon horses. So this is a physical branding mark that somebody would put on somebody in ancient Rome. They would put it on horses, on cattle, to identify the cattle that it belongs to its owner. And they will also do it with slaves. And that's actually a scriptural concept. All right, let me get in the law real quick. One second, Salakia. Yeah, Exodus chapter 21. And I'm going to start at verse, I'm going to start at verse 1, matter of fact. It says, now these are the judgments which thou shalt set before them. So this is a part of our law as Hebrew Israelites, you so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans. This is part of the law, statutes, and commandments that the Lord gave to us through Moses. All right, when we were delivered out of Egypt. That's why this is the book of Exodus. The Exodus of what? Egypt. If thou buy an Hebrew servant, so another Hebrew Israelite can actually hire another Hebrew Israelite to be his servant or slave. All right, now when we think of slavery, because of what the so-called white man did here in America, whenever anybody hears the word slavery, they just automatically think of some brutal, hanging people and cutting them up and burning them, raping them and doing all this madness, all this wickedness. But slavery just means servitude or employment. All right, if you actually look up the word employ or employment, is synonymous with the word slavery or to serve. All right, which is also where you get captivity from as well. So this actually legal according to the laws of Yahweh Shem Shai to have a Hebrew servant. It's just a certain way you got to treat them. You can't just beat on them and abuse them and do what the so-called white man did. That's evil and wicked. It says 6 years he shall serve, and in the 7th year he shall go out free for nothing. So this man will only be allowed to serve you for 6 years. All right, that's the law. The 7th year he has to be let go. If he came in by himself, he shall go out by himself. If he were married, then his wife shall go out with him. So whatever he gets while he's there, he can't leave with it. But whatever he had when he got there, he leaves with that. So you would assume in 6 years, a man would, save up his riches and basically invest in himself. He may get a wife or two. He may have some children in that time span, some toddlers. Well, he wouldn't be able to leave with them. All right, in that 7th year, if he's accumulated these things while he was under his master. If his master have given him a wife, and she have borne him sons or daughters, the wife and her children shall be her master's, and he shall go out by himself. See? And if the servant shall plainly say, I love my master, my wife, and my children, I will not go out free, then his master shall bring him unto the judges. He shall also bring him to the door, or onto the doorpost, and his master shall bore his ear through with an awl, and he shall serve him forever. You see that? So the awl through his ear, when you bore something through, is like, poking a hole through or pushing something through. So they'll basically put an earring on him and leave that awl on his ear. And whenever any man would see that awl, they would know that this man belongs to etc., whoever his master is. It would be to identify him as basically a homeborn, slave, basically, because he's choosing, all right, that's his choice that he's making to stay with his master forever till he dies. All right, now this man's going to have family. He's going to have his own land, his own house. He's not just in chains, shackled up. I have to say it that way because, like I said, because of the so-called white man, when we think of slavery now, we just have this image in our mind of some type of brutal, chattel slavery. And that's not exactly what slavery is according to the Bible. That's wicked. What this man did, he's going to actually have to pay for that. That's not, we were supposed to go into slavery for our disobedience. And slavery has been a part of, human life since the beginning. But the way he did it is totally against the scriptures, and the Most High is not with that. All right, so, but the point of why I brought this out, to link it back with Revelation, is that when you deal with that word charagma in ancient Rome, and you go into the history of that Greek word and how they were using it in that time, it was basically, it was one of the three things. It was basically three things that they would use it for. They would use it for the inscription upon money, and I did a lesson on this before. When you go into the Henry Liddendale concordance, if I'm not the concordance. I forget what it exactly is. Actually, I think it is. I think it's a Greek English lexicon, excuse me. It's similar to a concordance. It tells you that word was used as how they would inscribe and scratch inscriptions onto the money, onto the coinage. So they will put the face of whatever Caesar and the year and etc. And the way how they will put that on the coin, they will have to etch it in. They will have to carve it in. That's charagma. All right, it's basically making a cutting into something. And another definition they would use is basically the branding upon a slave, because back in Rome you had slaves as well. So they would brand their slaves. And then the third way they would use it, which is when it comes to more of a spiritual understanding, is the serpent's mark, or when a snake would bite you, the fangs, how it punctuates your skin like that, they would also call that charagma or karax, where you get karax from, which is a pale or steak. The etymology of the word charagma in the Greek G5482, it says a pale or stake or palisade, which is basically a sharp poking instrument, all right, to sharpen to a point, see, through the idea of scratching, you see. So this mark that they want to put in you is something that they're going to cut into your flesh. That's the point. When you deal with that word mark, it's something that they're going to actually brand you with. They're going to cut it into you, put it inside of you, and it's going to represent that you belong to them. All right, that's how you're going to identify yourself in this man's digital society, digital economy. Reading on, and that no man might buy or sell save he that had the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. See, so you won't be able to buy or sell because you won't be able to identify yourself with the RFID reader. All right, the machine is going to not recognize you. It's not going to sell you nothing. You won't be allowed in the store. You won't be allowed to check out. You won't be allowed to make online purchases. All right, and that's all going to begin through the digital ID that they're getting ready to launch. All right, along with the CBDC and the Fed now. All of these things are going to come together. You're going to see very soon. It's all going to make more sense as to why they're doing things in the particular order they're doing it. All right, and they're saying by 2025, they do want full functional CBDC economy, excuse me. All right, so we're at that time, man. All right, John, what the Apostle John saw here in the vision is the time we living in now. He saw people getting microchipped. All right, he saw them doing it in the sense that they were basically being threatened to do it in the event that they won't be able to buy food. They won't be able to be a part of society because they won't have this digital ID. The RFID literally stands for identification, radio frequency identification. So you're not identifying yourself through a plastic card, through a piece of paper, through a number, etc. You identifying yourself through radio frequencies. And yes, your chip is going to have a programming and that number of his name, which is the universal product code, which is, what they call a barcode or UPC code. That basically is our identification for products. And every single code follows the same programming, which is 666. All right, every single UPC code that was ever created, that exists, it all has 666 embedded. The first, the middle, and the last number is all 6, 6, and 6. Every single one of them. All right, that's a numeric value, which is the number of his name, which is the number of the beast. It tells you right here in the 18th verse, here is wisdom, let him that have understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man. So we know that this beast and this he is not talking about the devil, is not talking about Satan, it's talking about the so-called white man, because it said it's the number of a man, which is a nation of men, which is the Edomites. And his number is 636, Shai, Zai, and Stigma. You see in the NLT, his number is 666. And I did a lesson on that as well, going into the Greek, once again, of Shai, Zai, and Stigma. And stigma means literally to mark and to cut. All right, to make basically a wound on somebody's flesh. All right, stigma. So yeah, even within his number, all right, you have the concept of basically poking you, man, stabbing you, killing you, microchipping you. Because that's his number. That's basically his MO. That's his spirit. Remember, numbers carry vibrations. All right. And that's basically his vibration. The number 6 represents man, sex, and beast. And, this is the beast man. This is him. And ultimately with that chip, he's branding you. He's claiming you as yours, as his, And you're basically giving yourself to him as his property. All right, so when you go into Revelation, the 14th chapter, it goes to the judgment of what's to come for people that take the chip. All right, because that's basically a faithless thing to do. That's the time that we coming into is known as the hour of temptation. And the Lord is basically trying our faith to see if we truly believe in him, even when, times get like that, where they won't allow us to buy and sell. They won't, you won't be able to buy food for your family. You won't be able to pay your bills. You won't be able to do anything that involves money and the monetary, the economy. So we're going to really see, the Lord really wants to see who truly believes in him, who knows that Yahweh Bashim Yahushua can feed you without no damn microchip. All right, whoever doesn't pass that test and takes a microchip, they're going to be burnt up, man. As it says right here, Revelation 14:9 and 10. So with that, I'm going to say shalom.